Unafraid, Reister or Wrong, George Reister here. Couple things real quick. So this is a reaction to all the craziness and all the all of the like the insanity that happened today with Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher going to Texas A&M, and also the reaction to what's going on in Oregon with Willie Taggart, with that presser. You guys are going to be able to weigh in on this one. Want your comments, want your feedback and all that. You guys have been blowing up my Twitter. So instead of continuing to type to all you guys, I'll give you the opportunity to come at me right now. Tell me what you're thinking and all that. So first of all, I will say regarding my tweet about Jimbo Fisher staying at Florida State instead of going to Texas A&M, I will say I severely underestimated the off-the-field stuff when it came to Jimbo Fisher. Because when you look at the reasons why he left Texas A&M, those things you look at, okay, so first of all, he just got a divorce. And his wife was messing around with allegedly 2 dudes in the community. So do you want to stay in a place where your wife's messing around? Probably not. Where those dudes, you might have to see them at the gas station or grocery store and people making fun of you all over the place. Probably not. That's the first thing. Second thing is Jimbo Fisher, his kid is sick. And apparently I read places that research hospital in Houston or whatever that he can go to as well. You guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed right now so we can get everybody to weigh in. So anybody who has a take or an opinion or anything like that about what I said, you can get it. So the other thing is you have to look at, in addition to his kid being sick, you have to look at his beef with the boosters. You have to look at like all the things that Jimbo Fisher has been through trying to get new facilities at Florida State. And then also you have to remember too is that Texas A&M, a lot of times when these coaches searches happen, one thing that always comes into play is money. Money's always a factor. They're always, the money has to be right, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that Texas A&M gave my man Jimbo Fisher an unprecedented 10 years, $75 million. I mean, that is insane. I mean, you have to remember that his buyout at Florida State already was $39 million. And there is no way that his buyout at Texas A&M is going to be any less than that. No way. No way. He just wouldn't do it. It doesn't make any sense. So you look at Texas A&M, and the first thing that you want to ask is this a good contract for Texas A&M? Because when you look at it, like the margins are thin on this. Like they are extremely thin because like you're sitting here looking, you're like, hold up, we're obligated to probably nearly this entire $75 million. I know Texas A&M's got money to burn. I understand that because they clearly broke the bank for Jimbo Fisher. They got money to burn. However, that money supply, it runs out when you make bad coaching hires. That's the truth. That's the truth. And then you ask yourself, okay, what would satisfy 10 years, $75 million for Jimbo Fisher? The Board of Regents people that I saw, they said, we need to win the SEC. We need to compete for national championships. That's what they expect to do at Texas A&M. And I'm like, okay, that's a good thought. Like, that's a nice deal. But how long are you really going to give Jimbo Fisher before you start getting upset with him? Because, mind you, he won at least 10 games at Florida State every year except for this year and I think his second year. I think he won 9 games that year. So, but to compete for the SEC West and to compete for national championships every year, there's a couple people that you got to get through. You got to get through Auburn, you got to get through LSU, and you got to get through Alabama. That's the thing that doesn't make sense. I'm going to get to Willie Taggart in a minute, and if he wanted to stay, he should have just said it. So you guys just be patient, bear with me. I'm getting to Taggart after I finish up with Jimbo Fisher. So Jimbo Fisher already has to battle through Auburn, LSU, and Alabama. And do you guys honestly think that he's going to be able to run through those teams year in and year out and get to the SEC championship and the national championship? It would be different if he were in the SEC West. You would say, okay, he can get to the championship game the way Georgia is right now, and because he's got a much easier slate on that side of the schedule. But no, I just don't see it. I mean, I hope it works out well for you. But truth be told, Texas A&M is if you were to equate it to other conferences, Texas A&M is like, if they were in the ACC, they would be like Virginia Tech. If they were in the Big Ten, they would be Wisconsin. Like, everybody likes Wisconsin. Wisconsin's in the top 4 right now, but everybody still prefers Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. If they were in the Pac-12, they would be Arizona State. Yeah, Arizona State can do it. They can make a run occasionally. But everybody still prefers USC, Washington, and Oregon. That's the truth. That's who Texas A&M is. So, like, let's not pretend like it's more than it is. So that's why it's such a big get for them to get Jimbo Fisher. Because to leave Florida State, to go to Texas A&M, they had to throw the man a bag of money and have the perfect set of circumstances, like with him personally. So anybody acting like this is an outrageous take or my thoughts about it were just crazy, I beg to differ. 100% I beg to differ. You guys swipe up, make sure you share the feed, like the feed, send your comments in, and I will get to them. Next up, though, the Oregon Ducks. So I've gotten a bunch of Florida State people on my feed, on my Twitter, all this, very, very excited about WIllie Taggart. Bunch of Florida State people. Oh, WIllie Taggart's coming. WIllie Taggart's coming. I know it. And today he met with the media for the first time, had a presser on the way out to practice. And obviously there was a whole bunch of speculation because people originally thought it was like some press conference that was going to be like abnormal, but it was just a normal day's practice press conference. And I put up a poll on my Twitter. Oh, do you think that WIllie Taggart is going to leave? Because I said it earlier. I've said it many, many times. I said it today. Is that recently, before he went recruiting, WIllie Taggart told the athletic director, Rob Mullins, and he told the team that he was committed to be at the University of Oregon. I understand that, that was before what happened at Florida State. But if I'm correct, I believe that they have the same agent, that WIllie Taggart and Jimbo Fisher have the same agent. So they would know what's going on. And he also said at the press conference that he had not been contacted by the athletic director at Florida State. WIllie Taggart also said, and when pressed, they asked him, you're going to be here next year. Why wouldn't I? And people took that speculation with WIllie Taggart as, he's not coming. He's not gonna stay. I'm so afraid. I'm this, I'm that. What did WIllie Taggart sound like? WIllie Taggart sounded like a man in the middle of a contract negotiation with the University of Oregon. That's what he sounded like. He sounded like a man who's realizing he just got a contract extension, that he has an opportunity to make a boatload of money. I mean, but isn't that what we're all trying to do in life? We're trying to maximize our earnings in the smallest amount of time. And if you're WIllie Taggart, you're sitting there like, hold up, I got a prime opportunity here in life. I've only been at Oregon for 1 year, and now they get, and now I might have a chance to get a raise. George, don't you think he looked pretty uncomfortable about it? I think that he was trying to be polite and saying, all right, Yeah, you guys keep pressing me about it. I'm giving you an opportunity to ask me questions, but come on, I've already answered your questions. And it makes sense to, I know that it would ease everybody's mind if WIllie Taggart just came out and said, you know what, I am not leaving. I'm committed to the University of Oregon. But he did talk about the future. Did he seem like he was hiding something? I didn't think he was hiding anything. I thought that he was a guy playing coy because he's in the middle of a contract negotiation. I would be extremely surprised if WIllie Taggart left the University of Oregon. Extremely surprised because, like I said before, I think it's a character issue. Because he promised Phil Knight, promised Rob Mullins, promised a whole bunch of other people that he was the guy because he was not going to just pick up and leave immediately. He wasn't just going to pick up and leave quickly. And that's where you would have to point to, because Florida State fans, they are committed. They're like, oh, he has to come back to Florida because he's from Florida. It doesn't work like that. I mean, when you're somewhere in life, right, you break away from your family, you go elsewhere, and sometimes there are people who don't come back home. So you cannot full well expect a man to come back home just because. Options if he's out kind of late in the game for a coach. No, I mean, the new recruiting signing period has totally changed. We're seeing the first time that you're seeing coaching change in terms of how coaching changes are handled because of the December signing period. That is going to completely change how coaches are fired, how they are hired, and how they leave universities. If he does leave, what should the Ducks do next? Oh, I'd throw a bag of money at Scott Frost. If he doesn't take it, I'm going to retain Jim Leavitt as the head coach because he'll be happy to be a head coach and see how that goes. That would be my plan A and B if WIllie Taggart left. Throw a bag of money at Scott Frost, and if he doesn't take it, give Jim Leavitt the keys to the Ferrari and see how he does, because you at least know the defense will be phenomenal. So it's not the end of the world. However, you would just have to hope that Oregon would give Jim Leavitt the job. That way he would not follow WIllie Taggart wherever he went. That's definitely a thought. The other thing about WIllie Taggart, because I wrote a couple notes, is people asked about his beef with Phil Knight. Was there any beef with Phil Knight? So there was also I'll get to the Kevin Sumlin in just a second. People were asking, was there any beef with Phil Knight? Because they know that there was a little bit of a riff with him going into the Duck store, asking to win the day stuff come out because he thought it was chips, and he's the do something guy. And these are just professional things that get worked out. They're not fun, and WIllie Taggart came to under the understanding and got a chance to know and understand what is really going on, what's really going on, who runs the show, and how this whole thing with Nike works. And Rob Mullins, there were some rumors of Rob Mullins going to Auburn, to Arizona, all of this stuff. Rob Mullins isn't going anywhere. I'm telling you that right now. Heard that. I got that confirmed today. That's even more strong than the WIllie Taggart stuff that I heard today. The Rob Mullins, he's not going anywhere. I mean, he's really a lot to do with the secret sauce of the success with Oregon. Somebody asked about Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin's a good option. I mean, I guess, but before I went with Kevin Sumlin, if I'm Oregon, I would kick the tires on Scott Frost and Jim Leavitt first. I mean, those are my first two options. If I get desperate, yes, I'll go to Kevin Sumlin. But, I mean, you have to think at this point in time that Kevin Sumlin is going to get gobbled up pretty quickly. Because if WIllie Taggart doesn't take the Florida State job, then that's interesting. George, I appreciate your love and Ducks and all that stuff, but you also said that Jimbo Fisher was not leaving. there's a difference between what I said with Jimbo Fisher and what I said with Willie Taggart. Um, I said in the beginning that I underestimated the off the field things that led to Jimbo Fisher leaving Florida State. The stuff with his wife, the stuff with his kid who's sick, has like a rare disease, and I also, Texas A&M gave him an unprecedented contract. An unprecedented contract. I mean, think about this. This dude has more money, is making more money than Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban's team is in the championship or in the championship conversation year in and year out. So some unprecedented things happened. And also, I did not specifically speak to anybody at Florida State. I talked to some people surrounding the Florida State program. And but with the Oregon program, I talked to people with boots on the ground, people who get checks from, let's say, University of Oregon on them or Nike on them. That's who I talked to. So, I mean, is there a chance that Willie Taggart leaves? Yes, there's a chance. However, on the scale of likely things, nope, that's not one of the likely things to happen. But you guys, I appreciate you guys coming to, like, you guys are like an army, and I appreciate that. The Duck fans are like an army. You guys were ganging up against the Texas A&M and against the Florida State fans today. It was interesting on my timeline. But real quick though, okay, how much do you think it will cost to keep Taggart, or is money not going to buy him? Okay, so Willie Taggart is making right now, what, 3.1 million, like somewhere around there. 3.2 million, somewhere around there. So they offered him a raise. The initial amount that we saw was another 5 years, $20 million, which is $4 million a year plus a bunch of bonuses, which could be another $1 million per year. So that could push him in the $4 or $5 million range. And, I mean, it really all depends on how desperate that Florida State is going to be, because if you look at historically, so they gave Jimbo Fisher a raise, but his coordinators weren't, and his staff wasn't making very much, because I don't think that anybody on his staff was making over what? I don't think anybody on his staff was making over like $600,000. And when you listen to when you look and see what what Jim Leavitt and the offensive coordinator are making, they're $1 million guys. So Florida State hasn't been willing to pony up for their assistants, and Florida State hasn't been willing to pony up for new facilities either. And Jimbo did get $7.5 million. However, Jimbo has a national championship. Jimbo was this was a desperation move by Texas A&M. They gave him unprecedented money, unprecedented years. Like, so you can't think that Willie Taggart is going to command that same amount, being that Florida State's pockets are not deep as Texas A&M pockets. They got that oil money out there, and they're not afraid to spend it. They got that Jerry's World money. So those are huge things to consider when you look at Willie Taggart, if he's going to leave, and when he's going to if he leaves. Would you think about Leavitt as head coach if Taggart leaves? Absolutely, yeah. I said it. I would say I would go to Scott Frost first, and then I would go with Jim Leavitt after that. So what else on the Willie Taggart front? Anything else on the Willie Taggart front? Do you guys have any more questions on the Willie Taggart front before I get out of here? Because you guys know the Pac-12 Championship is on. I got it on in the background. Somebody asked me on Facebook, do you think he's going to leave Oregon? No, I don't think he's going to leave Oregon. I think that they're going to get this contract deal done. He'll probably be at about $4.5 million plus some bonuses, and then he'll be happy. Because you have to remember too is that there's an element of the fact that that there's an element of that Oregon, well, somebody just asked about Oregon breaking the bank. And I was saying is that there is a threshold for Oregon. From what I heard today is that they're going to want Willie Taggart to make up his mind. And it was like, okay, so do you want to be here or don't you want to be here? Here's what we can offer. You take it, you take it. Don't you can go ahead and walk out the door. It's not a take it or leave it situation. They're going to try to work with him. However, if Florida State comes with $6.5 million, Oregon's not going to match $6.5 million. I mean, that would be crazy anyway, because when you look at coaching salaries, right? When you look at coaching salaries from this year, from 2016, Nick Saban, because of his new contract, he made $11 million this year. 11. That's not his annual salary. Dabo Swinney, $8 million. The time frame for Willie Taggart, I'd probably say all of this will be resolved by Monday morning. By the time you wake up Monday morning, you will have an answer on Willie Taggart definitively. So Alabama 1 with Nick Saban. Clemson 2 with Dabo Swinney. I'll get to the uniforms. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, number 3. Ohio State, Urban Meyer 4. Rich Rod made $5 million at Arizona this year, and Jimbo was 6 at 5.7. And David Shaw at Stanford, 5.6. Texas, Tom Herman, 5.4. TCU, Gary Patterson, $5 million, and Kevin Sumlin made $5 million at Texas A&M. Those are the top 10 salaries. And, I mean, literally besides Stanford, you don't get down to a Pac-12 job, I mean, until what? I mean, damn, like Jim Moore at UCLA. What you think, new unis for the bowl game? Absolutely. Absolutely. Willie has been, good old Willie's been suppressing some of the uniforms this season. If you guys did not know, there were a few more uniform combinations that that did not come out because he wanted the guys to earn it again. Vegas Bowl or Cactus Bowl? Okay, there is a huge conflict. There is a huge conflict with Oregon going to the Las Vegas Bowl. That's the big recruiting weekend right before National Signing Day, the early period, which is what, December 21st, 20th, 21st, 22nd, something like that. Oregon has that big recruiting weekend right before that. Yeah, so I do not want Oregon to go to the Las Vegas Bowl, even though it's more convenient and more fun for me to go to the bowl game. I would rather them go to the Cactus Bowl because it can help recruiting. I'm more happy about that. And then also the team gets more practices. More practices, the better they are for next year. No problem, guys. Love the discussion with you guys as well. Let me see if there are any more questions on Facebook. Some people are saying, I wished he would sign the contract that Oregon proposed. I wish he would too. I think he's going to sign it over the weekend. But I mean, it's a power play. Like when you get leverage in a situation, you have to use it. Like you don't just let it just fly by because it may not come again. Okay, in terms of the players having Christmas off, I'm a guy, I didn't have it from the time I got to Oregon until I finished playing in the pros. I don't think I had a Christmas off, like a full Christmas off, because I remember one year I had to travel on Christmas Day when we went down to the Sun Bowl. I remember that. So it wasn't really that big a deal because you just learned that this is your job. This is how things go. You would rather be home on Christmas. But, you know, it's bowl game. The bowl game's fun. You'll forget about that in Christmas real quick. You'll forget about it real quick when you're out at the bowl game having fun. Do I think that Oregon would go to $5 million to keep Willie Taggart? Ooh, I mean, like that's the ceiling. But when you really think about it, when you look at all the college coaching salaries, a $5 million salary now is not even going to put you in the top 10. It's going to put you at like 11 or 12. At $5 million a year, like that's the going rate for an upper echelon head coach right now. I mean, and when you look at Pac-12 teams, like when you look at the highest paid teams, they are um like they are some of the more well respected and historically good programs, with the exception of Arizona. You got Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, then Arizona, Florida State, Stanford, Texas, TCU is paying them. All that. My favorite play from this season with the Ducks was, it was the first play that Justin Herbert. Well, actually, the first play of the entire season, the kickoff return was the best. Set the season off right. And then my second favorite play was Justin Herbert's first play back from his injury, because I was tired of seeing Braxton Burmeister. He's probably a wonderful kid. Wish him the best in life. However, I'm not, I mean, like, he hasn't done anything. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, he's a college kid. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but that's the truth. He hasn't got it done. You guys, send in your questions. I wanted to make sure I dealt with everything, because Texas A&M people were coming at me on Twitter. Oregon people were coming at me on Twitter. No, I do not believe Taggart is gone. I don't think he's going to leave. I think that they are going to find a way to get this contract done, because I don't think that he wants to leave. I think that he wants to be in Oregon. The money's just got to be right. I mean, it's tough. It's tough because the money's got to be right. We all have jobs. We all have situations. Exactly. Yeah, do something like sign the contract. Oh, your favorite play of the season was the scoop up fumble versus Carrington? Yeah, that was cool too. But the opening, I mean, nothing can top the first play of the entire season, run back for a kickoff return for a touchdown. I mean, come on. There's nothing better than that. Last thing up, you guys, real quick with the Texas A&M thing. When people are talking about Jimbo, they were going to offer him all this money to leave. Money doesn't always make people leave. When you look at the Tennessee coaching search, they offer guys $7 million a year. Jeff Brom, John Gruden, Dave Dorn. I mean, these are guys at Purdue and NC State. They offered them $7 million a year, and they said no. I mean, come on. Do you realize that coaches are understanding, like Chip Kelly is understanding right now? Because people were wondering why he didn't take the Florida job, being that Florida probably offered him more than UCLA did. Because Chip Kelly knows that he got fired at his last two jobs. This is his last opportunity at a major, to be handpicked for a job. If he wants it, he can have it. Last time, unless he's successful at. So he had to go to the situation that he felt that he was going to be most successful. And WIllie Taggart knows. He came from Western Kentucky, then South Florida. He's got to prove he can get it done at a big-time program. Otherwise, it's going to be his last hurrah in terms of getting big-time paychecks, like the head man at a big-time place. Otherwise, he'll be relegated to being a coordinator. So you got to make the most of it when you get a chance to capitalize on it, and that's what WIllie Taggart's trying to do. You guys, thank you guys for joining me today. Have fun. Pac-12 championship game is on. I got to turn it on. Well, actually, I got to turn the volume up now. So you guys, we will be back tomorrow in the morning with the wife versus the expert. So make sure you guys tune in. We'll be on at, let me tell you exactly what time we will be on in the morning. I think we'll be on at oh gosh.